Over the past decades, American politicians have been becoming more and more corrupt, and at the same time, they've been getting more and more rich. Whether it's through multi-million-dollar book deals, multi-million-dollar speaking fees throughout the year, or in some cases, multi-million-dollar stock portfolios from high-level politicians such as Nancy Pelosi and Mitt Romney. This so-called legal corruption has been getting politicians more and more wealthy, and no one really seems to care. It's done by politicians on both sides of the aisle. Mitt Romney is a multi-millionaire through his stock portfolio and makes millions of dollars every year through stock dividends, which are taxed at a lower rate than income, only 15%. Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, has made millions by canny investments in Apple and Amazon, which one could argue maybe she had some insider information about these companies or the trends that would lead to them gaining so much value on the stock market. Whatever it is, American politicians clearly have an advantage when it comes to trading stocks. So it begs the question, should it really be allowed? But no one really cares, because this is demonstrated by the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. Takes this sort of conflict of interest dilemma that we have with politicians conducting business when they're in office and just turns it up all the way to 10. Because not only does the guy own the entire Trump empire, which is hotels and all sorts of things, he also, while in office, has been selling his own brand of watches, his own brand of fragrances, and even his own cryptocurrency, Trump coin. And at the end of the day, no one really cares.
My new Trump fragrances are here. They make a great Christmas present. I've named them Fight, Fight, Fight because they represent winning. We all want to be winning. We have to win as a nation. We want to win as a family. This fragrance is all about strength and success and confidence for men and for women. Get yourself a bottle and don't forget to grab one for your loved ones too. Hello everyone, it's your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, here to introduce something really special. I think you're gonna love it. My new Trump watches. We're doing quite a number with watches and the quality to me is very important. The Trump Victory Tourbillon. This isn't just any watch, it's one of the best watches made. It's a tourbillon watch with almost 200 grams of gold and more than 100 real diamonds. That's a lot of diamonds. I love gold, I love diamonds, we all do. Only 147 of these extraordinary watches will ever exist in the world, and owning one puts you in a very exclusive club.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Marcus here, and today I want to talk about Trump's current business ventures, which are selling his Fight, Fight, Fight fragrance and of course his watches. And just one day before his inauguration, he launched the Trump coin. Now I want to talk about this because this is something that I genuinely care about, and I think that it's really bad that it's happening, and it's something that neither party, you can't take them serious in any way if any member of either party wants to discuss this. Now the reason I say this isn't because I want to do this sort of what people would call a false equivalency. I mean, the Democrats have never had a president as corrupt as Donald Trump, but I'm talking about this in terms of public perception. Now, how can the Democrats really rail against this open and almost farcical corruption from Donald Trump if on their side of the aisle you have people who are making millions and millions on stocks? Now, recently, the Democrat who's running for governor in New Jersey, Mikie Sherrill, was on Charlamagne the God's radio channel, and he asked her this.
I saw an ad, and it said that you took $30,000 from Elon Musk's campaign fund and that you made millions on the stock market, tripling your net worth while you were in Congress and you were fined for unreported trades. What do you say to that?
We don't trade individual stocks. I don't think anyone in Congress should, quite frankly, and I've been on legislation for that. So I don't hold individual stocks.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
I'm not sure what they're talking about. It's not as if I go sit on the House Armed Services Committee and suddenly I'm trading Boeing or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to. Again, mm-hmm. What kind of came from.
It was a report in the.
No, I know it's from Newsmax.
Then another one in the Washington Free Beacon. They said you had increased from between 733,209 to over 4 million in 2019, and then between 4 million to 13 million in 2024. So that's where they got the 7 million increase.
They averaged out that, yeah. Look, I both my husband and I come from very middle-class families.
Hold on, but I just want to be clear though. I just want to be clear because this ad is running, and I'm sure you'll be asked about this a million times. So, you know, if you get an opportunity to just clear it up, I think you should take it now. It says she made millions on the stock market, tripling her net worth while in Congress, and was then fined for unreported trades. True or false?
So I think we made money and paid a fine for that. Because again, I don't want anybody to think that I owe anything to anyone or that I'm somehow enriching myself. Because I think people have really low faith in government right now.
Now, I mean, look how uncomfortable she gets. Now, of course, maybe she isn't making decisions about individual stocks, but $7 million? She made $7 million through stock trades. And she, as a member of Congress, a former member of Congress, clearly has some insider information about what's going on in certain industries and in certain sectors before the general public does. So she can put some money in some different stocks where she's going to get rich. Now, even if that's not the fact, even if everything is done in a blind trust through her consultant or through her investment advisor, to me it still smells bad. It's still not a good look. So someone like this, in my opinion, no one's gonna take her seriously if she talks about Donald Trump's open business dealings where he's making money off of being the president by selling watches. Now, at the end of the day, the Trump supporters themselves also don't care, because they're the ones who, if they're not buying the watch, they're saying, oh, you're just a hater. You know, you're just a hater because you can't sell the watch either. And that brings us to the point where the only way to really fight against this type of corruption is through a candidate who is completely clean, is through a candidate who doesn't really have any stock trading history, is a candidate who really doesn't have any former involvement in this type of business dealing. Now, on the other side, I mean, it's just incredibly tacky what Donald Trump is doing. It's just incredibly tacky. And I don't know how anybody can really look at this and not chuckle. On one hand, you think it's funny, and then on the other hand, you realize how ridiculous it is. And it really shows to me that the presidency of the United States, the office itself, is being degraded massively through this. Because I'm not one of these people who's like, you know, clutching at pearls and is always like, oh, how could Donald Trump possibly destroy this tradition, or how could he do this and destroy this tradition, when there's a lot worse things that are happening through his presidency. This type of business dealing, this type of action, it shows, to me at least, that he doesn't really care about anything other than making money. He doesn't really care about how the average American is really doing. And on the other hand, I think it's really funny that a lot of these people are acting like, oh, you gotta vote red in the New Jersey governor race because Mikie Sherrill is making $7 million on stock trades, as if the Republicans don't do the same thing. Come on, man, get a grip on reality. It's one big exclusive fancy club, and you and me are not in it. All politicians have done this. There were even Loeffler and the other senators who, before the COVID lockdowns, had a closed door meeting in Washington DC where they were told that this is some serious shit, like this is gonna be an actual pandemic, and then a lot of them dumped their stocks and bought stocks in Cisco, which is a virtual meetings software provider, which obviously skyrocketed in value after the lockdowns began. And then by selling a bunch of the stocks that they had sold, they could repurchase them after the market crashed when the lockdown started, and then essentially double their net worth. And those were Republicans mainly, but there were also some Democrats in that list who went through with that type of insider trading. At the end of the day, politicians, no matter what, should not be allowed to trade individual stocks, and should not, in my opinion, even really be allowed to see how their stock portfolio is doing while they're in office. Now, of course, with someone like Nancy Pelosi, that's a bit difficult because her husband is quite literally an investor for his job. So, you know, you're always going to have a minor conflict of interest in this type of system. Now, as I've said, even Bernie Sanders is not completely clean of this, because Bernie Sanders for sure has some retirement stock portfolio. Bernie Sanders has made millions off of book deals, and he's become a millionaire since 2015 when he started his presidential candidacy and became sort of a nationwide name recognized figure. This happens to every politician who has nationwide name recognition, because then the book dealings are going to come flowing and they'll make make $1 million off of a book deal. I don't think book deals are necessarily a sign of corruption, but it's a continued alienation between high-level politicians in the United States and the general public. Now, has there ever been a society where this alienation doesn't exist? I kind of doubt it, but we should do our best to attempt and reduce this difference in wealth as much as we can. But again, Trump isn't going to do it, and if there's even going to be a next presidential election, I guarantee you, if Gavin Newsom is the next Democratic president, he sure as hell ain't doing anything about insider trading, because the guy is also a multi-millionaire. So the future looks pretty bleak in terms of this, but you know, maybe I don't agree with everything that Zoran Mamdani says, but he is the type of individual who has no history, from what I can tell and from what I've researched in stock trading. But only time will tell, because he's only been a nationally recognized political figure for a couple months now, and we'll see what happens in a couple years. Is he really gonna not go into the temptation of the multi-million-dollar book deal? Is he really not gonna get some financial advisor for him to invest those millions of dollars? I mean, you really gonna let it just sit in the bank? You're not gonna put it in an ETF? So only time will tell what happens with these major political figures. But he at least comes at it from a good starting point, because he has zero history in this kind of getting rich while being a politician, because he's never really been a politician. Alright guys, I appreciate you watching the video all the way to the end. If you got something to say it in the comments below. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, and if you liked the video, hit that like button. Alright everybody, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.